Hi, today we're with Cadan Tomos, and we're going to be asking him a few questions. I'm Sophie.
And I'm Rhys.
Why would you say politics is important to teenagers in particular?
I think, especially as someone who was growing up, it was quite obvious to me that as someone who sort of cared about, both the community that I lived in and the world around me, that the issues that I cared about, whether it was the education system or whether it was about what was going on, with supporting the poorest of society or whatever, all these things sort of related intrinsically back to politics, and they're all things that can be changed through the political system. And although it may not seem at first like the issues that you care about are political, they really truly are. And as someone who sort of, as a young person who got involved in politics at quite an early age compared to some, I did that because I saw that the problems that I cared about, the issues that I cared about, could be solved through getting involved in politics, getting involved in the political system, standing for election and trying to change things. So that's why I'm here today. And, I think anyone, you don't necessarily have to go to the whole hog and stand for election, but being involved, holding your politicians to account, going to a demo or, writing to your AM or your MP, anything you can do to sort of get involved in the political process and lobby for the issues that you care about, from animal rights to whether your bins are collected or not. They're all important things that that won't happen unless someone stands up for them and say they care.
Thank you.
What can your party do for young people who are looking to go to further education?
Further education rather than higher education.
Yeah.
So further education is something that we've been really keen on as Welsh Liberal Democrats in the Assembly, is expanding a range of apprenticeships that's available especially to young people, so that you may be aware of a Welsh Government scheme called Jobs Growth Wales, which exists at the moment. So we don't like that scheme. We think it's a bit of a waste of money because a government feasibility study, a review into it, found that 74% of the people on that scheme would have found a job without it. So we would much rather they spent all that money on actual programmes that will give young people the skills that they need to go out to work. So whether that's apprenticeships or traineeships or whatever they may need, and a lot of them would be provided through further education colleges. One thing that we've also secured through budget agreements with the Welsh Government, because obviously they don't have a majority in the Senedd, they need to make a deal with another party to get their budget through. So we've been negotiating with the government to make sure that we get a pilot scheme for FE students who are parents, to give them childcare whilst they're studying, to make sure that they can actually devote some time to their studying, to make sure they can get a better outcome from their studies and hopefully go on to work, earn more money and a better life outcome as a result. Those are two things that we've been focusing on.
Welsh Labour is holding the Cardiff West constituency currently, and has done since the Assembly was formed in 1999. What do you bring to the table that will end this?
Well, I'd like to think that I offer something different. As a young person, I stood in the general election as well in Cardiff West too, and I was the youngest candidate anywhere in Wales in the general election. I'm not the youngest one this time, which is good. It's good that there are lots more young people getting involved. But I'm definitely the youngest person ever to stand for this constituency, and I would like to think that I'm standing up for the voice of the young person. There are so many young people, whether they're pupils at the school here or whether they're studying at university or a college or whatever, that far too often don't get their voices heard because there are far too few young people within the political system to stand up for them and to advocate for them. So as a young person who lives in the city, who works in the city, who cares about Cardiff, I can definitely bring that angle to the table, and through some of the things that I've been advocating, whether it's talking about improving sex and relationships education is something I've been really keen on, or whether it's improving access to mental health services for young people. Those are the two things that I passionately care about, that I definitely won't let up if I get back into the Assembly.
How will the results of this year's EU referendum affect teenagers living in Wales?
Well, this is an incredibly big question that is going to have a huge impact on all of our lives in ways that I don't think any of us can properly understand yet. I think, and there are lots of question marks over, if we did end up making the choice of leaving the European Union, what that would look like. None of us really know what sort of relationship we'd have with the common market in the EU, or what sort of relationship we'd have with the other countries, whether we'd still be able to trade with them. So I think there's an estimated around 10 million jobs that depend on Britain's trade with the European Union, which is quite a lot of jobs, and a lot of those jobs are taken by young people, and it's clear to me that our economy will suffer as a result, and that we should definitely be staying in, for the sake of our economy, for the sake of having a multicultural, cohesive society that's not afraid to work with other people across Europe, across our continent, to make our communities a better place. When we work together, we're far more likely to achieve a better result, because we can use our relative strengths to work together and improve things. One thing that young people in particular get out of the European Union is, if they end up going to university, is the Erasmus scheme, which allows them to go and spend a year abroad in a European university absolutely for free, which I know a few people who've been on that scheme, and it's really broadened their horizons, given them opportunities that they never would have got otherwise. But even if it's just the simple things like the EU have just passed something which will make sure that you won't have to pay roaming charges on your mobile phone when you go on holiday in Europe, or whether it's the fact that you don't really need a passport much when you go on holiday in Europe either. Those things would probably come to an end if we left as well. So it's every corner of your life. Being in the European Union makes things easier and makes things better. It's not perfect, but it's better to change things on the inside.
Okay, thank you. Being one of the youngest candidates in your party, how would you say young people in our position could strive towards a career in politics?
Well, I think being here, it's sort of, for me personally, sort of my journey here has been a combination of being in the right place at the right time, and a bit of luck, and some of it has sort of been choices that I've made. And the first choice that I made when I was age 17 was joining the Welsh Lib Dems, and I did it because I cared about the ideals that the party stands up for. I cared about wanting to make sure that people aren't enslaved by poverty, ignorance, or conformity. Those are the sort of the things that are in our constitution as our main aims. And I felt that my ideals fitted with the Lib Dems, and therefore I joined them. But whatever sort of colour you are, wherever you are on the sort of the political scale, the thing I'd say is get involved, whether it's with a political party, whether it's with a pressure group, whether it's any way that you can. Get involved, stand up for the things that you care about, speak up, and make your voice heard. Whether that then translates into you've just achieved one thing and one thing is better, or whether that is a springboard into a career in politics, if that's what you want, whichever way you want to go, that's fine. But at the end of the day, being in politics is about changing lives and making lives better and making our communities better, and you don't have to be in a political party to do that. I found that the best way that I could do that is by being in a political party, but however you do it, that is the main aim, and I would encourage everyone to try and find a way that they can do that.
So we know you proposed lowering the cost of public transport for young people. Why did you feel led to do so? So
this is I originally grew up in Ceredigion in mid Wales. It's a place with with very disparate populations, geographically disparate, and the public transport links are poor, to say the least. I was lucky that most of the places I needed to go were on bus routes, but even the bus routes that did exist were incredibly expensive, and I knew a lot of young people my age and a bit older who, whether it was travelling to school, whether it was travelling to college, or whether it was travelling to work, who were having to depend on the public transport system in order to get there. Yet when you hit age 16, you have to pay an adult fare. I think they've changed it in Cardiff now, and the adult fare is, I think it's meant to be coming into at 18, but in most places it's 16. So I found that it was intrinsically unfair that we were asking young people to depend on buses to get to work, to get to school, to get to college, but making them pay so much for it. So I brought an idea to my party's conference, because all our policies within our party are passed at a conference where all our members vote on them. So an idea of a young person's concessionary bus pass, so giving them money off any bus travel that they make. And that was passed. We then used the budget negotiations that I mentioned earlier with the government to get a bus pass for people aged 16 to 18 who live in Wales, who live in Wales, and that gives them a third off any bus travel that they make. So that's something that exists now. If you Google it, you can apply. I really would encourage you to do it, because it's free money off your bus. So we would look to extend that to sort of a wider range. To make sure that more young people can benefit, in the same way that you've got a 16 to 25 rail card as well. It's the same sort of principle. Obviously, train lines don't run many places, especially in mid Wales. So buses are much more useful. But that's the sort of thing that we went after, and you can see it's having a benefit for lots of young people across the country.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in and answering our questions.
This is the Bishop of Landa School Report.